Welcome to Energetics with Kim and Veronica, where we invite you to nourish the energy of your inner why, your inner healing, magic, prosperity, your curiosity, clarity, playfulness. Welcome home.
Hello, and welcome everyone. Hi, Kim. Hello, Veronica. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Energetics podcast, and we're so excited to have you here. As always, we invite you to sit down with us, pull up a chair, sit around the fire, whatever that looks like for you, and just join us in the conversation. We'd like to share all of our ahas and awarenesses that we've been unraveling our own experience with consciousness and energetics and manifestation and emotional intelligence and all the things for many, many decades. And we really just feel like it's a shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm journey together with all of you. And Kim, where can folks find you? I am at growingbeyond.com is my website. And I'm at Kim Coleman for Facebook and kimcoleman.growingbeyond on Instagram. Amazing. And I can be found on Instagram at the Veronica Rose, and that's Rose with a Z. So we have been talking in the last couple of episodes about the beauty of gratitude and how it is an alchemy and an energetic force that we can tap into. It's more than just a nice thing to do or something that we should be obliged to do, but it actually is a very powerful alchemical tool that can transform our lives. And so we're going to take it a step further today, Kim. And so what are you thinking? I love that. So I think in the last episode, what kind of showed up in the moment was something around what is it that we often can have gratitude for, oh my God, the sun on my face. And we talked about really taking a pause and really not stopping as much as slowing down and receiving the energy, the frequency. So filling our cup, if you will, all of me here from head to toe, soaking in, oh my God, that feels so good. And it doesn't matter what the it is. So really noticing and taking the time to stop is the way that the quote goes, take time to stop and smell the roses, right? Because those heavy density energies, boy, they stop us in our tracks. School a 2x4. How often do we actually take time to take that pause and really soak in those lighter energies? Now, the 2x4 energies are like a 2x4. They stop us in our tracks, right? However, these subtle energies of, oh my God, that is so good, right? It's just really easy because we have created such busy lives. It's just so easy to continue on our way instead of intentionally pausing and really soaking in that. And so that's kind of what we have been chatting about. And I can't explain that enough. Like, it is something that when you become that energy of gratitude and appreciation, you are being that change you want to see in the world, right? And it's so much of that. And then we chatted about, where is it that we can have gratitude and appreciation for self? And not just, ooh, I like my hair. There's that too, right? There's that too. But really looking at it from a different angle of, where is it that, oh my God, that I can do this, I can be that. And it's actually so easy for me that I don't even acknowledge it as one of my gifts, one of my strengths, one of my superpowers. It's just so easy for me that it's almost annoying that other people don't dot all their I's and cross all their T's. What's wrong with them, right? And so, yeah, what about you?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because it's like, well, I've often felt some kind of resistance to self-appreciation. And,
And where does that come from? Does it come from like, oh, I want to be humble, right? So there's this kind of like thought that's been shared with some of us as in growing up, like that humility is really something to cherish and to appreciate and to try to covet. And I think that there is truth in that. And at the same time, can we have humility and also appreciation for ourselves? Because it's not just that it's something good to do, but it actually is a force of change. So the more that we can start to really appreciate ourselves, we can start to actually create a transformation in our lives that creates a powerful, I guess, generation of energy that can transmute things into what we really want to be experiencing in our lives. We start to walk different. We start to carry ourselves different. We start to be, we've talked about being the energy of something as you enter an exchange, enter a situation, enter a conversation, you start to, you rewire yourself in effect. And so you enter things differently, which creates a change. It creates something different in your life. So looking at it from a different perspective of like, yeah, you're supposed to love yourself, blah, blah, blah. And actually it's something to take on as a very powerful tool. And so where do you begin? To your point, well, there are things that just come very naturally to all of us that are not natural to everyone. And it could be something really simple, like understanding how technology works, just the very basics of technology that, that's something that we just chatted about earlier, like that might not be easy to other people, or maybe it's just being able to listen in a conversation. Not everyone can just sit and listen and receive, right? But that comes naturally to some of us. Or maybe it's, being able to vocalize yourself in a conversation, and that doesn't come easy to everybody, so there's just these really subtle but very important things. And so, Kim, is there something that maybe you've noticed about yourself over the years that you've been able to appreciate?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it started with me not appreciating and not seeing it and being aware of it and owning it as, wow, this is actually really easy for me. And uh, to your point, Veronica, when you were talking about, we carry ourselves different. I'm looking at that, and it's what I'm noticing is when I can acknowledge my gifts and what I'm really good at and own it, that creates confidence. And when I have that inner confidence, I am going to show up different. I do show up different. And a lot of us had been taught, don't think you're all that, that's vain and it's conceited. And as you were talking about the humble thing and all that, and yes, a lot of people translated that, I believe, as don't know how awesome you are, because that's the opposite of being humble and all that stuff. And I look at that, I looked at that and I went, wait a minute, me knowing that I'm awesome at this, that, and the other thing, it's not vain and conceited. That's confidence of knowing what I'm also really good at, some of the things I'm really good at. Vain and conceited and all that and egotistical to me is if I think I'm better than everyone else at it.
Right.
So me, right? And so me being aware of my gifts is me acknowledging. And the more that I can acknowledge my gift, and I'm soaking in more of that, and I'm creating this confidence instead of the I suck at everything. What is that supposed to be cute or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like in high school, for example, like if you thought you were amazing at stuff, like I said, it was vain, it was conceited. But what was it okay to think you're not good at things? Like, what is that? And so if I have this program running that I'm not good at things, there's probably a lot of things I'm not going to even try. Right? Now I had two brothers. I had one older and one younger. So I was sandwiched between the two. And man, oh man, they they got really good at teasing me at home, like super good, on the border of bullying. And so I didn't want to try new things around them, right? Because I knew that it would just be something that they would be able to tease me about later. So I just didn't bother. And so I didn't have any confidence in myself around that because I wasn't willing. I'm not doing that, because if I don't do it good and I look stupid, then that's going to give them some ammunition, so to speak, right? And I wasn't willing. I knew what it would create for me if I sucked at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just never attempted. I just never bothered. And so to me, knowing your strength is creating confidence, which creates what? The more I can be aware of what I'm good at and start to create that confidence, because it becomes this whole shift, then that is, the compound effect. Right. So if I'm walking around in the world and my cup is full of I suck, and I know I'm not going to be able to do this, I'm not going to be able to do that, so why bother? One drop and that cup overflows in overwhelm. One more drop. That cup is full of that. One more drop of anything like that, and I'm in overwhelm. Right. And if it's true that the universe has my back and I'm walking around doing not going to try it because I'm just going to suck anyway, there's no confidence in that. That's the opposite. And so I'm going to get more of that. I'm going to create more evidence of that. And so the opposite, when I start to look at, wow, you know what? I'm really good at this and I'm really good at that. That's me actually owning and acknowledging some of my gifts. And then more of my gifts can and will show up. It's kind of like, like that kid that wants the whole cake and can't even eat a piece. The universe you're not going to get the whole cake if you can't even eat one piece, right? And so the more that I start acknowledging what I am good at, and oh man, doesn't mean I'm better than everyone else, right? And so then I can start to build on that, and more of that will show up. And I carry myself different in the world. That went on a different place than I thought it was going to go, but hey, that's what
it's perfect. Yeah. I think, like probably a decade ago or so, I was really playing with this deeply, and I struggled with it. I struggled with being willing to celebrate myself and who I am and the things that I do have and I do bring to the table. And I think, so I'm thinking in this moment about two analogies that helped me a lot. One of them being like, I imagine somebody that I really admire, whether, it's somebody famous or somebody I know. And then in my mind's eye, in my imagination, imagine if their confidence in themselves was sucked out of them. And how does that change who they are as a person? Right? Like if you actually go into your mind's eye and walk yourself through that, it becomes very apparent how much you want them to have that confidence back, right? And another good way of looking at it is looking at nature, right? There's no like a rose doesn't sit there blooming thinking, hey, I'm better than all the other roses, but it also just owns who it is. An oak tree just owns who it is, and you can feel the power and the presence of that, right? It's us as beautiful humans in our mind wonkiness that decides that, oh, we need to diminish ourselves, we need to shrink, we need to not own who we are. And so when we're walking around in life and not enjoying what we're experiencing in relationships, in finances, in career, in health, et cetera, what are we bringing to the table? How much are we owning all of who we are? And when we come to life with that energy of this is who I am and I celebrate who I am, not overly, not in competition, but just in sisterhood with everyone else and appreciating everyone else for who they are, life starts to reconfigure and transform and things start to change in your life. And it seems unrelated, but it's not. It's all intertwined and interconnected. So who you show up as is everything. And so this might be your work right now, is to really look at, okay, well, what are the superpowers, as Kim says, that I have that I can start to really acknowledge and appreciate?
You know what's coming? Let me see if I can play with this light a little bit more. What's showing up for me as you're sharing that, Veronica? I love it. Is, imagine a planet where everybody's walking around not knowing their gifts or not thinking they're good at anything, right? And then imagine. So for me, it's like when I know I'm not amazing at this. However, you are amazing at that, then I get to reach out and we collaborate together and we're creating a team and we don't have to be good and amazing at everything. I'm not great at everything. I do what I do with everything. Right. And so I get to go, okay, look, there's that person and they are amazing at social media. Okay, cool. Well, I love social media. I actually do. And it's almost like it sees me coming and goes, oh, her again. Let's have some fun. Right? I mean, I do what I do with it. However, it's not my superpower. It's not one of my gifts or one of my skills. And so how awesome that there's people out there that do have the gifts and the skills and the confidence and the things that their superpowers, if you are, their gifts, or the things that are easy for them, right? And then I get to go, oh, hey, you over there, you, right? And I get to collaborate with them, as I said, and create a team, right? We're not here. We're not on a solo journey. We are. And at the same time, wow, there's so many people. Like last time I taught one of my classes, I did a network lunch and I asked everybody to bring their business cards and everybody to share what it is that they do. And oh my God, it was amazing because you don't know that somebody sitting right next to you is somebody you've been looking for 10 years unless somebody's willing to share that. And every single person there had a different superpower than the other people sitting there. And it was amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so good. And
like, look
concept...
at you. Look at you with your corporate world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And and one of the things, and I mentioned this earlier as an example, but one of the things that I've often wished was different about myself is that when I engage in a conversation, I don't feel like I contribute as much often. Like I'm just naturally quieter, but I love to listen. And so instead of, coming down on myself that I don't contribute enough to conversations, I really turn it around and appreciate the fact that I am a listener. I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. And a lot of people want to be listened to. So flipping it on the head of, okay, I'm not going to come down on myself about this. I'm just going to appreciate who I am and what I do bring to the table, which is different than what other people bring.
Well, imagine if there were no listeners, right? And so listening is a superpower. Not everybody has that, for sure. Whether it's listening within, listening to others, that is huge. Because again, some people don't even want to listen to others.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And so who's listening if we're speaking? Well, right. And the thing is, I think, with the listening thing, again, we all want to be listened to. And so for me, when I'm looking for somebody to listen and not to coach me, not to try to make something right or wrong, I'm looking for a listener. That's 100% a beautiful, beautiful quality that you have.
Yeah. And so where is it that you may be criticizing yourself? And is there a flip side to it, right? That you just do it so naturally that you don't even see it as a superpower, and instead you're wishing to be the opposite or the flip side of it. So I think it's a good way to start to examine. And we've been talking a lot about, the compound effect, right? Which is, can also be, I think it's, also termed as there's a law of accumulation or exponential growth. And so, as we're talking about these really what seemingly insignificant practices of gratitude for what you have, for the beauty in life, for yourself, it's the little things that seem insignificant, inconsequential, that as you do them consistently over and over again, it starts to build up an energetic momentum that then transforms your life. And the common example out there that I'm sure, lots of folks have heard is the compounding of a penny, right? So the example of would you rather receive $1 million, or would you rather start with a penny and have your money doubled every day for 30 days? And so you often you think, well, I'd rather just give me $1 million. I don't want a penny doubled, every day. But you're looking at it as okay, 1 cent, 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents. But at the end of 30 days, you actually end up with over $5 million. And so it's just a really good example. It's hard for our brains to conceptualize that. But if you actually look at the math, that's how it plays out. And so, and that's what happens energetically when we start to have gratitude for the little things. We're actually generating an energy, and life responds to it. And it starts to reconfigure and rewire and conspire. And Kim and I have both experienced it. It doesn't feel like it's doing a lot, except for you start to feel better maybe. But then life actually starts to change. Your relationships start to unfold differently. People in your life start to react to you differently. You have little surprises of, financial wins, or, wins in your work or your business that, you wouldn't have planned for or anticipated. So it's fun to play with this, not only because it's good to do for yourself, but also because life starts to interact with you differently. As Kim always says, it's the language of the universe. So you are now communicating a different language to the universe, and the universe is responding differently. So it's fun to play with and see what changes happen in your life.
What you said something there that I was like, oh my God, that right there. What was it? It'll come back.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, exponential growth and the law of accumulation and the compound effect. You can go on and just Google these terms just to get the concept of it. But what you're putting out there.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also that thing of what's your cup full of? Is it full of gratitude, or is it full of that'll never work, that never worked? Because again, that's what we're going to get more of. And so for a starting place for people, here is just something that I started to notice for myself, and how I started to notice, oh, well, that's one of my superpowers. It might not be one of theirs. That's one of my gifts. That might be not one of theirs. So as an example, one of the things that is one of my things is, you could say to me, oh my God, if you ever see one of those, would you pick me up one? It could be 5 years later, and I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to you and go, oh my God, look, there's that thing. You've probably given up on it by then, or you're like, oh my God, where is that? And that's just one of my things. It's just one of my things. And so it's a small thing. And so that's where we want to start, with where we're at always. And so what started to happen, I was like, oh my God. So I was being that for this particular person over and over and over. I'd be like, oh, this, oh, that, oh, there. Oh, eh. And I'd say, hey, if you see one of those, would you mind grabbing me one? And she would let me see that she got one. And I'd say, oh, did you grab me one? No. Oh. And so I started to take it personally. Do you know what I mean? It's like I was always thinking of her when I would see the thing, and it was not being reciprocated at all, like not even a little bit, to the point that it was like, oh my God, okay, that's got to be 20 or 30 times now. And geez, she bought one for her other friends and didn't even think of me. Like, what is that? And then I realized, I was like, okay, that's just not one of her superpowers. And so when I was getting annoyed, thinking, what? I would do that for her, and she's not doing that for me. And I was taking it personal. I was making her wrong for that. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's how I show up. And I show up like that. It's a really interesting thing. I can see that thing and oh yeah, Veronica said she wanted those. Oh, it might have been 12 years ago, but boom, it's just weird. Or it's weird meaning of spirit, fate, and destiny. It's one of my things. But not everybody has that. Not everybody's like that. So I get to look and go, instead of making people wrong for not doing that for me when I was doing it for them, I got to see it as, oh, that's one of my gifts. It's not one of theirs. Right? Now, somebody else may be amazing at cooking and love cooking. It's not one of my superpowers. It's not. Right? And so when we can start looking at the things that are so day to day normal for us, day to day, right? And yet other people don't do that. Like maybe at work you're like, oh my God, I always make sure the pens are where they need to be. Why can't other people do that? Right? And that's where I notice it a lot is people get annoyed with other people in their surroundings and in their environment for not doing things the way they do it, or they don't do it at all, let alone the way they do it. And what if it's literally, yep, that's one of your gifts, that's one of your qualities. It's not theirs. We don't get to judge people for not having the same gifts, right? Right?
So good.
Maybe you park better than I do. And what about directionally challenged people? Doesn't mean I'm stupid if
Right.
I'm directionally challenged. It's not one of my superpowers, but it might be yours. Thank God it's somebody's. Right? And so that's where we get to create a team. Right? Like I don't need a team where we're all doing the same thing just as good as each other or whatever. It's like, no, I'm really good at this. You're really good at that. Wow, what a great team.
Absolutely.
I really hear about that from people who are at work and are annoyed with their coworkers because they're not doing this and they're not doing that. And I'll say to them, maybe that's just not one of their gifts, but it is yours. And so for me, it's noticing where, because if somebody isn't doing something the way that I would like it done or the way that I think it should be done, I get to go, wait a minute, is that one of my superpowers, right? Like the way that Ken cleans the kitchen, and it's not because he's a guy, I don't buy into that. And the way I clean the kitchen, no, not the same at all.
Right.
So he's actually, when I clean the kitchen, he's actually named it, I Colemanize it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
one of my things. I see that thing and I see that thing. He doesn't. Right? He does the cooking. Thank God, because it's not something I enjoy. It's not one of my gifts. It's not one of my superpowers.
That's such a great, I love that, Kim, like is a really good place to start. Like where are you feeling annoyed by people, and to really shift it, right? Shift the perspective to it's not their superpower just because it's yours, right? I think that's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. So really noticing, right? Let's start to notice what are some of the things that are really natural for you, and maybe it's not for someone else. Instead of getting annoyed that it's not for someone else, bring it back to the inside and go, oh, wow, maybe this is one of my gifts.
Yeah.
Right? So, what it does, what I've noticed it does, is it really neutralizes the judgment about that person not doing it the way that you would hoped, or whatever you want to call that, right? And so instead of, why can't they put the pens back at the same place? It might not be one of their superpowers. It is yours. And so when I started to notice that, okay, maybe it's not her superpower to think about me when I was thinking about, maybe that's just not one of her superpowers. She doesn't get to be wrong for that, right? So what if I can acknowledge myself as, wow, okay, bring it back. It's one of my superpowers. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good. And I'm still waiting for you to remember that diamond ring that I said for you to watch out for.
What diamond ring?
I'm just teasing. If you ever see a big diamond ring,
I'm like,
you can just pick it up for me. No.
Oh, got it. Okay. I love it.
Just teasing. Awesome. Well, thank you. We super appreciate you hanging in for this conversation. And if you would like and subscribe and comment and share with everyone you know, we would really appreciate anyone you think could benefit from the conversation. We would super appreciate it. So
Absolutely.
So much love to you, Kim, and so much love to everyone listening.
Yay.
Till next time.
Ta-ta.